This is a really bad idea.
I'm going into space, Daddy, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Fire! Hello, citizens of the Craftiverse. Welcome to another episode of CraftPod 13. Today I'm talking with Mechanical Fiend, who also sometimes goes by the name of Devon. Now, Devon has had her YouTube channel for 11 years. It's almost a video journal of watching her grow up, from making small films with her friends to chronicling her journey through college, studying filmmaking at Ringling College of Art and Design, to becoming an amazing crafter on YouTube. Some of her videos cover poetry, writing pirate letters or Victorian letters to her friends, dioramas, light boxes, costumes, vehicles, and sometimes even a little bit of singing. So why don't we just jump in and talk to the Fiend herself? Let's go.
CraftPod 13.
Hey Devon, how you doing?
Pretty good today.
What's going on?
Well, I actually just finished the project that I'm working on today, which I guess is a fun little excitement for the day.
Yeah, it's always kind of good to get to the end of it. It's the middle of it that's always hard. The starting and the finishing are always like, yes.
Yeah, especially when a project's really long. It's sometimes hard to get to the end. So when you get there, it's a good feeling.
Do you sometimes work on really massive builds that take you a while, or they don't necessarily have to be quote unquote massive, just time consuming?
Yeah, I feel like pretty much every build that I do, I consider them to be big. I feel like most people would look at them and not think that they're big projects. But to me, yeah, the work at least is a lot.
Especially when you're trying to move into something that's new, right? And pretty much every project I find there's elements and aspects of that where it's something that I've never done before. So, that takes extra long. Do you experience that kind of?
For sure, and especially with this project, actually. It's 2 new things that I hadn't ever used or done before, so it took me extra long to figure them out.
Don't tell us the project. I want it to be a surprise to your audience, but what sort of mediums or what sort of work are you doing that is new to you?
Well, I used resin for the first time, and I also just got a Dremel, so I used that for the first time.
Nice.
So it all was lots of things to learn, but that's the fun part. So
I don't know, it depends for me on some projects, I plan them out a whole bunch, and other projects I kind of just jump in. How are you on that front? Do you plan out your stuff, or?
I cannot do a project unless I plan it extensively.
Every
because if I start trying to do a project and I don't have any idea how I'm gonna do stuff, I'm just sitting there the whole time trying to figure it out, and it takes me so long.
Do you keep a whole list of ideas and you start meticulously planning little aspects of them and then just kind of go with that project, or how do you kind of decide on what you're gonna work on?
Well, I mean, I guess it kind of depends. The biggest thing for me is I need to do a project that I'm really passionate about at the time. And it always changes kind of. I have a whole list of projects that I want to do, but there's always one that's I really want to work on it.
Right.
And for me, I need a project that I'm passionate about. Otherwise, I definitely will not finish it.
Yeah, so, you gotta feel the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube helps you finish it.
That's definitely true.
I often wonder if how many of the projects that I've started that I've done videos on, I'm I wonder how many of these I would have actually finished if I didn't have a channel.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have finished many, to be honest.
I know it'd probably be well, that's enough experience with that medium. I'm sure I'll get better at it at some point, but for now, let's just move on.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for me, the video part is kind of the really fun aspect for me. I love working on the projects, but the final project for me is the video, for sure.
I 100% agree. Like, it's, I'm trying to get better at my builds, but I come from I really enjoy doing film, as you do. And so, like, I find myself thinking the same thing, like, basically, like, yeah, the whole end video, that's the craft, that's the project.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, you were saying that, like, you enjoy, like, the filming or like the post-production aspects, the editing and stuff, and it looks like, at least to me, like, looking at your channel, it seems like you have a film background or have been making short films for a very long time, actually.
Yes.
It looks like
Longer than the crafting videos, for sure.
Tell me about your channel and how long it's been around and, like, how you started off and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I started doing YouTube like a really long time ago. I had a channel before this one when I was like 12 years old, I think, in 2009. And I was doing like really like weird, stupid videos with my stuffed animals.
I'm still doing that. That's exactly what I do.
No, but like it's not like what you do. It was like it was not good.
Yeah, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, at least that definitely led to me having an interest in filmmaking. So for that, I am like grateful for doing that when I was so young. But yeah, it was not good.
By the way, glamour shots are so well done. They're beautiful. The lighting and the camera work. Your camera work during your entire videos is fantastic. I mean, it's just really well put together, and I'm not even saying anything about your crafting at this point, because that's also great.
Well, honestly, thank you so much, because I always appreciate when people say things about the film aspect of it the most, because that's definitely, at least like in my life, what I've dedicated most of my life to. So I'm always happy to hear that. So thank you.
Did you want to be a filmmaker? I mean, you are a filmmaker now. I mean,
Yeah, in the beginning, no. I mean, like, I was 12, so I wasn't like really thinking about that,
Come on, you're an American kid. Don't they start y'all really young? Like, aren't you supposed to know your career at like 6?
I mean, maybe now, but like nobody was taking YouTube seriously in 2009, really. Like it was like really towards the beginning of YouTube.
I know you hopped on there so early. Amazing.
That was all that I wanted to do. It was like, it's like the only thing that I got excited about.
And you started like making like little short films with maybe your friends, like the beginning of your channel.
Yeah, in high school, I like finally decided that I wanted to like pursue filmmaking as like a career. So I started like trying to make short films, and I roped my friends into it, of course.
Absolutely.
And yeah, honestly, like I was really, really lucky to have friends that were so supportive of the stuff that I was doing and wanted to do it with me, because it's like I know that what I wanted to do then I like couldn't have done on my own. So
Right.
I was really lucky to have some people that were really supportive of me, and my family, of course, too.
It's a great age, like early teens to kind of late teens to be doing film work, because you will have a group of friends that are like gung-ho. Like it gets a little tougher like in your 20s or early 30s or something for,
Oh, yeah.
Come over, Bob. We're going to roll around in the yard. Fight sequence.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even make friends later on in life, so...
I know. Thus, YouTube. My virtual friends. Speaking of your friends, I love the video where you wrote pirate letters to like a couple of your friends. Like, it was filled with like great little drawings and like even pop-ups and a treasure map and like a whole bunch of like ship metaphors.
Yeah.
Maybe, could you explain to people what I'm talking about?
Well, okay, so actually that ties in nicely to what we were just talking about, because I'm also writing to the same friends that were in my short films still.
Nice.
Basically, like, I think it was 2 years ago now, I realized that I just didn't have really the money to buy my friends anything for their birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to make them something. But I obviously didn't want to just make them something that was like didn't have a lot of thought put into it. Like, if I'm gonna make them something, I want it to be something that they'll like really hopefully treasure, maybe. So I kind of treated it like almost in the same way that you would like write and create a story world for a film.
Right.
It was basically the same thing. Like, I basically just like put everything that I would into like the production design for a short film of that into a letter and then into the video and sent it to them.
You did a great job on like, you have this whole little set that you did of like the cabin, and basically it looks fantastic, and I think you might have done a behind the scenes video on that also. But explain to people what the pirate letters actually are, like if they have no idea what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, so basically they're just letters that I sent to my friends for their birthdays as if I were a pirate writing to my other pirate captain friends. So I like gave them like ship names for like the ships that they're captaining. I gave them captain names, and I wrote to them sort of hopefully in the time period-esque sort of. And I also included lots of different like themed things. So I did like themed stickers, themed like the letter was like a message in a bottle, and the card was the pop-up treasure map. So
it's so good. If I got a letter like that, I mean, it would floor me. I'm sure they have gotten their letters by now, and I would assume their reactions were pretty positive.
Yeah, they definitely always enjoy them. So I just think it's so funny to me because I always do the like actual letter writing part for the video. I, like you said, I set up a whole captain's quarters and I like dress up as a pirate. But like my friends, if they don't watch the video, they would never know that that I was like dressed up as a pirate. So I'm not sure if one of them has watched the video, so she might not know that I dressed up as a pirate to write that, but it's going fully with the theme, so.
Well, I just thought it was such a beautiful sentiment for like your friends to like spend so much time and effort, and it's better than just getting a gift from some store by far.
Well, like I said, they really like have done so much for me in my life, so if I can do any little thing that hopefully makes their day a little bit better, that is the best thing to me. So I hope that they enjoy them.
Oh, super cool. So are you still doing like short films besides the YouTube stuff, or?
Well, I mean, I did like a short music video thing, but that was on YouTube, and that was like a year or two ago. That was probably the last full like short film thing that I did.
Right.
I've worked on like film stuff outside of YouTube since then, but it's not like my own stuff, you know.
What's sort of your thing that you enjoy the most doing, or what is your specialty in film, if you have one?
I don't know if I have a specialty. Like, I went to college for film, so like especially in college and like in the industry, I feel like they really like encourage you to definitely specialize in one thing, and that's something that I actually never really liked, because I always really loved learning about everything and like trying to get better at everything, especially with cinematography, editing, and production design. Those were like my three favorite areas. I really enjoy doing all of those things.
Man, that's just made for YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
And I think that thought process in the film industry is a bit outdated, because it did make sense like quite a while back, because being in a niche was a great way to get into film work. But nowadays, you have access to so much equipment that if you have the knowledge and the skill set, then you can do a lot more than people were able to do like 15 years ago.
For sure. I think everything has become so much more accessible, in like there's never been a better time to learn about like things in general, obviously, just because there's so much information on like YouTube, the internet. Like, it's so much easier to learn about things, and it's also like you have access to equipment for like so much cheaper.
Oh, absolutely. It started happening with music first, and then kind of worked its way into film. And yeah, it's amazing. You can even see like a change, I think, in musicians. Like on, it's the easiest thing for me to kind of pick up on YouTube. There's so much access to information and great teachers out there showing people what to do, that really young people are looking at the videos on YouTube, and basically their skill at playing is just getting better and better. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever noticed like parkour. You know what parkour is?
Yeah.
So you see stuff like that where basically like quite, I don't know, many years ago, it started out and people weren't able to do all that much with it. But then all of a sudden you have people filming themselves doing stuff, and it's kind of spreading this knowledge base of like, oh yeah, you can jump off a 2-story building if you know how to land.
Yeah.
And fall correctly. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like when they broke the 4-minute mile way back in the 30s. All of a sudden, other people were able to do that, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. I mean, like, now that there's more people, like, talking about their own experiences, like, using whatever, showing, like, people showing editing programs, editing techniques, like, camera techniques, like, everything. Crafting techniques, of course.
I watched you, and then I learned stuff. I mean, that's the way this works. I don't know if, I'm sure most people have figured that out, but most of the crafting that is done on YouTube, I mean, people are picking up techniques from other crafters doing it on YouTube.
Of course, and that's honestly, like, I think that's the greatest thing about the community on YouTube. Like, we're all learning from each other all the time, which is, like, it's allowing everybody to be better. And I think that that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I don't know where I would be in with my skill set if I didn't have all these other fantastic creators to check out.
For sure, definitely.
So you do a bit of camera work, you do a bit of editing. What sort of stuff are you using to do your videos, like on the camera side and the editing side?
Yeah, so I have a Canon 5D Mark II that I've had for like 10 years now. So it's the same camera that I used to shoot my short films on too.
Wow.
Yeah, it used to be my dad's. He just gave it to me after he got a new one when I got into college. So I was extremely lucky that he was generous enough to give one to me, because I obviously could not afford a camera when I was going into college.
They're not cheap.
Although nowadays, like, phones even have great cameras, so.
You can get some good stuff out of a phone, but the stuff that you're doing, like the way it looks, it would be a little tricky to do with a phone. Especially, I have trouble doing stuff when it's really dark, and that's sort of the beautiful stuff. So sometimes I have a Canon 5D Mark III, which I'll sometimes use to do my final shots if it's really going to be dark, the glamour shots, if you will. But yeah, the way you do yours and the lighting, I really, really love. And then on the editing side of things, what are you using for post-production?
So I'm using Premiere. I've been using Premiere for a pretty long time. I've tried using DaVinci a little bit, and I also have used a couple other things in the past, but I definitely, so far, Premiere is my favorite one.
Yeah, Premiere is what I use. I like it. DaVinci's good. I mean, it's obviously fantastic for color correction, and it's great for anyone out there who is unsure or just starting to learn to edit, because it's free.
Definitely. That's the big thing about DaVinci. Like, if you want to learn to edit, or if you want to just try it, I would definitely try DaVinci Resolve. You can just download it.
Yeah, and you can only export at like 1920 by 1080, and I say only like that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. That's what I export my videos out on YouTube as, but I do like having the ability inside of Premiere to shoot at 4K and then be able to like punch in on certain shots.
Yeah.
I guess if you're using a Canon 5D Mark II, you wouldn't be able to do that because you're at 1920 by 1080.
Yeah, not so much of that, but that's all right.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you just line up your shot exactly the way you want it. Yeah, you don't have to think about it.
Just gotta shoot to make sure that you get it right for the edit.
Nice. And do you love editing, or tolerate it?
Yeah, I really enjoy editing. I mean, obviously there are parts of it that are really tedious. Like, especially in crafting videos, because usually with mine, I have like, for a project, there's probably like at least 10 hours of footage, if not more. So that's not the most fun to edit.
You just shoot everything pretty much?
Well, no, I actually don't even shoot everything.
Right, because it takes
like,
way more.
My projects just take so long.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get a little more lean with what I'm shooting, but you know,
Me too.
sometimes it still just goes on and on and on and on. What's your favorite part of editing or during the post-production? What's your favorite part?
For post-production, I feel like my favorite part is usually doing like the final sequences, obviously. I feel like it's obvious that would be my favorite.
Your final shots?
Yeah, like, and editing it to the music and stuff. Editing to music is my favorite thing ever. I love editing to music.
Nice. You're good at it. You catch it and punch it on the beat. I've watched the edits that you're doing, and it's really good. Also, your videos are really snappy.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they're a little too quick. It's really hard for me to try and balance, like, the video being, like, not too long, but also, like, being informative and entertaining at the same time. Like, I have so much trouble trying to make the videos that way. And that's, like, that's probably what takes me the most time in editing. I'm like, should I leave this in or cut this out?
It's a really tough call. I know. I've been trying to like make my videos shorter, and yeah, it can be really hard. But you know, watching how other people handle those problems is very helpful. And if I think like my videos are moving too fast at some point, one easy way that I've found to break that up is to just suddenly stick a shot of me actually working on something that's slightly interesting and just not say anything for about 10 seconds. And it tends to give the audience like a little bit of a little release of breath, a little palate cleanser. So if you ever feel like something's moving too fast, just give that a shot and see how it works for you.
I think that, like, I would love to do that, but at the same time, like, I have problems with, like, leaving any space because I already have, like, usually in videos, sections that are like really long sections of sort of like short film-esque parts. So I'll have like, you know, an intro that's sort of like that, or like a part in the middle that's like that. And I already feel like that takes up so much time that it makes like me want to make the crafting part as fast as possible, which I don't know if that's the best thing.
Right.
But I'm like, I have to include the short film parts because that's the part that I want in there.
If that's what you love, like, yeah, definitely keep doing that. I tend to go on little side tracks myself, and it tends to bloat the size of my videos up a bit. But but oh well.
But they're the parts that you love the most, so it's like, well, they have to deal with it, I guess.
Right. I definitely spend a lot of time on those parts, so yes, they're going in.
No, yeah, you spend the most time on those parts because they're the parts you love the most.
It's obviously working for you, so like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and yeah, it's supposed to be fun. If not,
no, I mean that's the most important part is that, at least for me, is that I make something that like I'm really happy making. I feel like there's no point in me making videos for YouTube if they're not what I want to do, because that's basically the point of YouTube. Like, I could be going off and working and doing, like, you know, film things for other people for what they want, but the whole point of YouTube is to be making what you want. So I feel like that's always going to be the most important thing for making videos on my channel. And I don't know if that's, like, great for like the audience, for what people want to watch, but it doesn't really matter because I feel like there's no point in doing YouTube otherwise, for me at least.
No, that makes so much sense. And the audience that you are building are really, you know, well, basically you just get a very loyal audience, or an audience that is really into what you're doing, and that's the best kind to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people can tell when you're, like, really excited about the stuff that you're working on. At least when I watch videos, I feel like I can tell when people are excited about it and when they're not.
Only a couple of times, but I've been guilty of like going through the motions on just a couple of ones, and it was things that, like, I guess, I don't know, problems maybe crept up that I didn't expect, and it didn't end up being as fun as I thought it would. Or there's this, I have like one or two projects that I keep thinking I'm gonna do a video about. These things have been floating around now for a while, and I'll kind of start on them and film them, and for some reason they're just fighting me. Do you ever have projects that are like that?
Oh, of course. I mean, like, there is difficulties in every single project. Like, it's never gonna be fun all the way through, you know? There's always gonna be some part that, like, gives you so much trouble and you're like, why am I doing this?
So what do you do when, like, a project kind of goes off the rails or doesn't go quite how you expected?
Well, you know, that's a very good question, because a lot of the time I don't really, like, I get stuck and I really don't know how to proceed. So I'm just sitting there for like a couple days trying to figure out, like, usually it's in the crafting process. I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And it's just a lot of, like, you got to just keep trying stuff a lot of the time and seeing what works and what doesn't, even if you're really not sure how it's gonna go.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, one of the things that, you know, like, you're trying to show people and you put the amount of stuff that you need to in the videos, but one of the things that doesn't usually end up in the videos is how many times you, like, test stuff or try stuff or you know, techniques that you're unfamiliar with, and I know, like, most people would say, like, well, you should put that in the video too, and that is probably true, but there comes a point of where you're just like, well, not all the videos can be 45 minutes, you know, because if you threw everything in there, it would just kind of bloat the time. Do you find that you have to, like, test things that are, like, slowing you down during a project?
I definitely have to test things once in a while. I think that, to be honest, at least lately, I've been doing a lot of relatively, like, similar techniques, at least. So a lot of the stuff that I've done or that I've built lately, I've done sort of in the same way that I've built other things in the past. But in the beginning, for sure, I was like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
So I was just, like, trying to figure out how I could do anything. Because, yeah, I mean, especially actually in the beginning, I chose projects that I knew I wasn't gonna, like, be like, I have no idea how to make this. Because, yeah, like, I feel like starting out, you have to do projects that aren't, like, crazy difficult. Because otherwise it's, like, way too overwhelming.
Yeah, I've like I said, I think that's the problem with some of those projects that I was talking about, where they're kind of still floating around. That's where my procrastination usually jumps in, is where I'm unsure of how to proceed, and then I procrastinate.
Oh, yeah, no, that's 100% me as well. A lot of the time, though, it's weird. Like, I feel like a lot of the time, the not knowing how to proceed, like, I don't even go and test things a lot of the time. It's me just, like, figuring things out in my head. Like, it's like a mental thing. It's not like a physical, like, I have to test a bunch of things out. I have to, like, it's that I have to, like, figure out exactly how I can do it in my head. So I'll maybe, like, do some research or, like, try and draw some things out. I do that a lot, too, in planning. Because I think it helps me work it out in my head. And then once I have it worked out in my head, then I can usually proceed.
Yeah, did you, were you always illustrating, like, as a kid and stuff?
Not well, but yeah.
Hey, that's describing me today. So I love your little drawings, all the stuff you did. I mostly saw it in the Pirate Letters video, but they were cool. They had its own little cute style to it. It was very nice.
Well, that's about the extent of my drawing skills.
Well, as long as you can embrace the thing that you're good at, I mean, that's an amazing thing. I mean, you can base a whole career off of doing that. Just my point being that anything that you're kind of good at, and just kind of going with it 100%, it has its own style to it. It's sort of kind of breathed into it. But I have to do a good bit of ruminating and pondering on my projects also.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, do you, like, when you're working through stuff or coming up with ideas or trying to figure out like the next video, do you ever like, it occasionally happens to me, not too often, but you ever get like little creative blocks?
I don't think there's anybody that like makes things that doesn't. Right?
Right.
I mean, I feel like most of my creative blocks are just like most of what I said, honestly. Like, I'll be like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, and that's my block most of the time.
Right.
Like, I have so many ideas all the time. It's like just putting them into action is obviously the hard part.
Yeah, and just also like, I don't know like the amount of time you take per video or how much lead in you have, but for me, when I decide like, okay, here's the next thing I'm gonna do, in order for me to hit my self-imposed deadline of like when I'm gonna release my next video, like I have to commit to that one thing. Like there's no going 3 days into it and being like, okay, abort, you know, let's try something different. I mean, I could do that, but I'm gonna not make my deadline.
Oh, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
have the same thing, sort of?
Yes, exactly the same. I mean, like, usually when I start a project, I'm never like, I don't want to do it. Like, I never decide in the middle that I'm like, I don't want to do
Right.
it. So that's a good thing, at least. But, like, I definitely get into projects and I'm like, I don't know how to proceed with this, but I have to finish it.
Right.
And, like, yeah, because the end goal is obviously the video. And once you've started it, it's like, well, I'm working on this until the video's out.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that, because I have the same thing. Like, I don't lose like the kind of intensity or the passion for the build itself, but sometimes you get
Yeah.
really stumped on like, okay, well, what's the next move here? And sometimes I'll also be stubborn and like we'll sit there and just try to work it out when I know I could probably go to YouTube and look it up and find someone who will show me how to do it like 10 times better, but I'm just kind of dumb and I'm like, I'm not walking all the way over there. So like in crafting, do you have like a favorite part or a favorite medium?
I don't know if I do. Like, I think one of the things that I like the most about crafting is that, like, it gives you the opportunity to do so many different things. Because, like I said earlier, like, I'm definitely a person that, like, likes variety. Like, I love to do, like, a variety of things. I don't really like to, like, just specialize in one single thing. Because it just gets boring to me.
Yeah, like when kind of jumping back to what we were talking about earlier. So when you are working on like someone else's films, are you like a set designer or prop maker or?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I've done some like music videos with my friends from college, and I've always worked in production design for that. So I've done like set up some sets, made props, things like that for music videos. But I've also done like, you know, shot and edited like corporate video, all that kinds of stuff. Like I've done all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't just done one thing.
Well, one medium that I see you using on your channel all the time that I really love is cardstock. You really embrace that medium. How did you start using that?
Well, mainly it's just like that's what's available to me. Like, it's really cheap.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I use a lot of like recycled materials because of that too, because it's just really cheap. You have it laying around the house. So for me, the best material is the one that you have on hand. So
It's sort of a great motto to kind of carry with you into crafting, because certainly one of the things that I do, and I want to put it in a video at some point, is just show people it's so silly and simple, but all these freaking cardboard boxes that we have in our lives is like, if you just take a box cutter to those, you have a million beautiful little palettes that you can use, and it's at least getting used for something else, and you're not doing quite as much waste.
oh yeah, I mean, also for people that are out there too that are like, they think that there's a really high like entry level to crafting, at least as far as materials go. Like, you can make something really cool with just like some cardboard, some paint, some scissors, and some glue. That's like all you need to make something really cool.
Yeah, you made this fantastic little van, like basically out of cardstock. I saw like the thumbnail and then I watched it, and when you started building it, I was absolutely shocked that that's the way you were gonna build it out of cardstock, and it came out great. And I'm sorry, I don't even know the name of the character and stuff.
Oh, it's from Sly Cooper. It's like a video game series.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been pretty difficult, right?
Well, I will say that one was a little tricky because I've never done like a vehicle before.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of things I had to like figure out for like how would I build like tires and stuff like that. And I will say that I'm not sure if there are that many, but I haven't seen that many builds of vehicles like that, at least. Like, I've seen other types of vehicles, but not like a van like that.
No, the only other person that I've ever seen build like a car from scratch is BP Customs. He did like this little like post-apocalyptic van. And yeah, it does not look easy. And like most people, you were building yours and you just mentioned the tires. Now, 99% of people, if they had been crazy enough to try to build the car itself out of cardstock, they would have found something round for the wheels or got some wheels off a toy car. You built the wheels like out of the cardstock. I mean, I don't know. It was very cool.
Well, honestly, like, the reason that I built the wheels is because I looked to see if I could find anything that would be similar to the wheels. And, like, for me, they weren't similar enough. Like, it's just because I'm, like, too much of a perfectionist. Like, that's why.
Do you have a touch of OCD?
I don't think so, but I definitely am really perfectionist in everything, which is not a good thing.
But you have a nice bit of looseness to you also in your builds where you're not getting hung up on stuff, at least the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I guess it feels worse to me because I'm living with it all the time. So like you don't see me sitting there like in an edit watching the same thing like 5,000 times to like fix one thing that literally nobody besides me will notice.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing, but like you said earlier, it's so important to like, you have to be pleased with it. And I do find myself like being like, that's not a big deal. And every time I watch it back, I catch it again and it bothers me. And I'm like, fix it, man. Fix it.
Yeah.
Don't keep listening to that. You're going to be bummed. You're going to put it out there in the world and then it's out. And, you know, you'll always hear that part or, you know, this little blip or whatever.
I don't know if this is the same for you, but I have like a lot of anxiety about like social media in general. So, like, posting anything online, I'm like, I have to look over it, like, 500 times to make sure that it's right before I post it anywhere.
Yeah, I'm so scared that I'm going to do a spelling mistake.
Oh, yeah.
It frightens me to death. Hey, after you're done with this podcast, maybe you want to zip on over to Mechanical Fiend's YouTube channel and check out her videos. She has so many cool videos to choose from. So you can have like a whole binge session over there. So, all right, we'll get back to talking with Devon in just a second. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that you should actually go and really check out her work in depth. All right, promotion over. Fading out. You know, there's one thing about the whole medium of YouTube or the format of YouTube that's always interesting to me, and that's just the amount of communication that you have with your actual audience. What's sort of your take on that?
I mean, I feel like I'm not very good at it. I think I'm definitely, like, I don't know if it makes sense for me to be posting things like online because I'm definitely a kind of person that like wants to just like disappear for like a month and work on something.
Gotcha.
And that's like not really a good thing on like YouTube and stuff.
No, I hear you. I mean, I have elements of wanting to be a bit of a woods hermit myself. and just kind of be away from people. And I don't know, I do live in the woods, so I'm close to that. But yeah, this is my only like outlet really for communicating with people and stuff. But let's see, like there's this thing that I saw on your channel, and I never in a million years thought that I'd want to use this, so I'll blame you from now on because I want to use it now. It's puffy paint.
I had just recently started using that actually with the van project. That was the first one that I used it on.
But you use it to like actually just give like a bit of lift or texture to something, and it looks like really easy the way you're doing it. So can you tell people a little bit of like the things you've discovered using puffy paint and like putting it on for crafting?
Yeah, so I was always looking for something that was like kind of just a little bit three-dimensional to add like small details on things, because I feel like that's something that I need very often in builds. And it's like, I don't know, like there's certain things that are really small that I don't want to like sculpt,
Right.
because it just takes so much time. Like you have to bake it, you have to sculpt it, you have to paint it. Like it's just a lot of extra work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I actually saw somebody use puffy paint in a YouTube video that was for something completely different. I don't really remember what it was because it was a really long time ago.
Right.
I was like, that could be an interesting thing to use on miniatures for like any small texture details that I could just draw it on, because I think that it would be easier. And it really was. Like I was surprised at how well it worked. You can just draw it on and then wait for it to dry, and that's it, basically.
Yeah, and you have a little bit of lift, and
Yeah.
it'll catch a dry brushing technique perfectly and stuff. And how long does it take to dry?
That's a good question. I have it. I can see how long. It's right here. Let me see.
She's always got puffy paint within arm's reach.
Well, all my crafting stuff is right here. Like, I have one room that I do literally everything in. Like, I sleep in here, I do my crafting in here, I film everything in here. So everything's pretty much in arm's reach.
Gotcha. And it all has like a sort of purple overtone, right?
My room is blue.
Okay, never mind. We're cutting that part out.
Very close, though. I do color correct my videos sometimes to different colors, depending on what the video is. So that might be why.
And you stay inside of Premiere to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I mean, that's where DaVinci just really has
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
The coloring in DaVinci, yeah.
it blows Premiere away. But, having to move a whole video over, like I barely do any color correction on my videos just because it's one of these things that's like, well, that's going to take a lot of time. And basically
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
But I love color correction. I don't know if that's like weird, but I love doing color correction.
No, it's not weird. I mean, that's what makes the videos look so good. I mean, that's what I was sort of fawning over at the beginning of like how good your videos look. I mean, that plays a huge role.
Yeah, I mean, I even plan for like the color correction that I'm gonna do when I film my final sequences. I'm like, I know exactly how I want this to look, and then I shoot it so that I can make it look that way.
I mean, I have thought about like potentially going into Resolve just for my glamour shots, so that I'm color correcting in there. Because I mean, there's phenomenal things that you can do. Like basically, there's a built-in, I call it a face tracker because that's what you usually use it for. But you can track the color correction like really quickly. So if you need to highlight like a face to pull it out from the background or part of your final build, you can track that as the camera's moving, and it works really well. And
Is that the magic mask?
They may call it that now, yeah. And
Because
then
I think I've seen that. If that's the same thing, I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not positive. It's been like maybe 2 years since I've color corrected a project in DaVinci, but and it was working fantastic then. And then you get all your feathering, and you can change the mask to any size or contours that you want. Yeah, maybe if you were in DaVinci, that might be a bad thing. You might just get lost in there and be like, no,
That's true.
I have to keep tweaking this one part.
Oh, that's already me. So if there's more options, that's probably not good for me.
Red flag for DaVinci. So, Devon, are you like a musician also? Like, I hear you sing, I think.
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely not. No.
That's not the answer I expected. Okay.
But how would you expect? Like, I feel like you can hear that I'm not a musician.
No, that's not true. I enjoy the singing.
Well, I appreciate that. But no, I am definitely not a musician.
Do you not play like any instruments at all? Like, or
Oh,
mess
no.
around? No?
I wish.
Ah, gotcha.
I've tried to learn instruments and it never went well for me. So, I don't know, like, I feel like my brain just doesn't work that way for some reason.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, like, the piano's still barely going well for me. So, like, it doesn't really go well for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. For most things, I guess that's the case.
Back to crafting. So,
Okay.
so you use, do you use like a lot of recycled materials and stuff? I've seen you do a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, I try to use as many recycled things as possible just because, I mean, first of all, for the cost, obviously. It's nice to not have to buy a bunch of materials all the time. But also, like, I think it's great to try and recycle materials and, be a little bit more conscious of the earth as we can with our art,
Yeah, it's a great way to go about it. I mean, it can get a little disturbing at times, especially when, like you said, we're working in like trying different aspects of crafting. And if you just go to like the two big crafting stores that we all know the name of and try to like buy new stuff for everything that you're gonna try, I mean, it gets prohibitive quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could never afford to buy materials all the time. That's why I work with the stuff that I have most of the time. And I think that that's true for most people. Like, most people that are doing it as a hobby,
Right.
they don't have all this, like, extra money to be buying a bunch of stuff for it. And that's the case for me, too. So if other people can learn from that, that's awesome.
So, like, back to the cardstock. So, what cardstock are you actually using? Are you using like boxes that you're from products that you're buying and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely use a lot of, like, cereal cracker boxes, pizza boxes, things like that.
Nice.
Regular cardboard boxes, lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool. Like, I had loved the way you did the shingles on the Lemony Snicket's house that you did.
That took me such a long time. I think the thing is, like, a lot of things like that, where you're making, like, a texture, it's just a lot of repetition, and that gets tedious after a while if you're doing it for, like, an entire house side or something like that.
Every once in a while, I get into something like that where I'll do like textures on a sculpt that I'm doing, and sometimes I'm like, oh my god, what have I got myself into? Like you've been working for like 2 hours and you only have a small section done, and you look at the rest of it and you're like, okay, I guess I committed to this.
Yeah.
Speaking of like, like crafting and the community, like we were earlier, like I saw that you did Monster Bash this year.
Yes.
And I love the way you opened up the video. You did like these cool little shadow puppets, which I thought was amazing and really creative. Was that fun to do, like as a collaboration?
Yeah, so I think that's the only collaboration that I've done so far, but Trent from Miscast, he invited me to work on it with everybody. And yeah, it's really cool to work with other people in the community, because I mean, I don't know if you feel this too, but sometimes when you're working like only with yourself, it's like a little bit harder to motivate yourself sometimes. So working with other people for a project was definitely like really fun.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just sitting there crafting and crying. Yeah, it is great to have a little bit of a camaraderie with people.
Yeah.
It's fun, you know. I've only done one collaboration, and soon I think I'll be doing like another one. But that was just so much fun. Like the most fun I had with it was basically we all used Discord and basically hung out a little bit in Discord, and you know, would throw ideas around, and it just was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm not like the most active person, like I said. Like, I'll just go and work for like a week and nobody will hear from me.
No, that's a great quality to have. I mean, that's the reason why you can be like a perfectionist and still get videos finished.
I mean, I don't get them finished very quickly, but
How long do you kind of spend on like crafting and then the post-production?
so much time. So much time. Like,
Okay.
it depends on the project, obviously.
Right.
But it's just so many hours of crafting, and then after that, ooh, there's like, I edit for a really long time.
Do ya? Do ya?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's hard for me to say like exactly how much goes into each, because normally I'll be editing while I'm doing the project. So like, I'll do the project and film for the day, and then I will edit whatever I filmed that day that night when I can, at least, because it's faster for me, just because I remember everything that I did that day.
I envy that so much. So
Well, okay, a
much.
lot of the time I don't do that. Like, it's not all the time. I try my best, but
Right.
sometimes it doesn't happen.
Right. Well, when I grow up, that's what I want to do, because that's how I want to be. Like basically, craft during the day, and then you know do maybe an hour or two of editing at night.
Well, it definitely helps at the end, because you're not with like I said, like 20 hours of footage that you have to edit all at once.
It's a good thing. I have been able to do it on a couple of occasions. What I haven't been able to do, and which is what I really would like to do in that process, is also start doing the voiceover as I'm editing and that part. Is that what you do also?
No, I do the voiceover like after
Yes.
the project is done.
Same
and
here.
like after I've edited the I've just done basically like edited the build footage down. Like, it's not done, but I just can kind of go through it and I know what I did, at least.
Yeah, and as you're doing the voiceover, you just shorten or elongate things to make it fit, like with what you're talking about, if you have to expand on something, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to go about it. I would love to, at some point, be able to, like, I don't know, sort of compartmentalize and do, like, all of that in one day, like, at least for sections, and then, you know, clean up and add other stuff in as I go on. Only because, for me personally, I think sometimes, like, I accept what I say or something that someone else is saying, like, I think that's going to be the best it can be, but I'm also a person who, if I get to sit with something a little while, I'll usually come up with a better idea.
Oh, yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I would be interested in exploring, just in, you know, in the hopes of making this whole thing like a little easier and just smoother overall. Are you getting like really comfortable in the world of like doing crafting videos? I mean, it's been like what, 2 years now that you've been like, I mean, your channel's been around for like 11 years, but you've been kind of, it seems like you've been doing the crafting videos for maybe like 2. Is that correct?
I think it's been like 2 years. Yeah, you probably know better than me. I don't really remember, to be honest.
So are you getting a little more like, are you feeling comfortable in the medium?
For making the videos, yes. For recording, like, the voiceover, no.
Well, your voiceover's great. I mean,
That's the hardest part of the whole thing for me, to be honest.
is that the part that you dread?
Yes.
Is it one of the classic examples of just not liking the sound of your own voice because it sounds different to you, or?
No, it's not that. It's just, like, it's really hard for me to, like, sit in front of the camera and, like, talk. I don't know if it looks like that, but it actually is for me.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That might be a little difficult to actually like have to put yourself on camera and speak. I've seemed to have slightly circumnavigated that.
I kind of, I don't know, like part of me wishes that I like never did that, but part of me also feels like the videos wouldn't be the same if like I wasn't in them, you know?
Oh yeah, no, having a personal touch and a connection with your audience is a fantastic thing, and I think that's a great decision.
Yeah, the videos that I want to make like need that. I wish didn't have to be me, but like that's just all that I have. So
Before we go, I wanted to ask you, like, is there anything else you want to add or throw in?
I mean, the only thing that I guess maybe is kind of interesting, at least to me, is maybe talking a little bit about filming the final sequences of my videos.
Oh yes, do tell.
So when I film the final sequences, I'm thinking basically like I would be shooting it as a film, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that that's kind of obvious if you've seen them. But one of the reasons that I started doing miniatures is because I wanted to be able to make films on my own and like be able to, you know, create sets basically and light them how I wanted to. And I wouldn't be able to do that on like a large scale.
Right.
So that's kind of why I started doing miniatures in the first place. So that's why the final sequences to me are like the most exciting part of the project, because I can set everything up in like its own mini set with lighting, and I can like film it like I would if I was, I don't know, making a music video or setting up a shot for a film. So
tell me a little bit about your lighting setup.
I use like literally just like my lamp. Like I have like I just use things that I have. I'm not using like any film lights really. I have one light that I've built myself, which is a softbox. Mm-hmm. But it's just like I think 3 or 4 lights on the inside and then like a box around it. So that's it's not like a professional film light. I don't have any professional lighting stuff.
You do have some colored lights.
I do have lighting gels, which I think is probably the most fun part of lighting for me.
Right, because it looks like you're having fun painting with the color.
Oh, I love colors in cinematography. So that's like the most exciting part for me. When I get to set up some like really fun colored lighting for whatever project I'm working on.
Yeah, I think I've even seen you do, letterboxing, right?
Yes, I do love also like messing around with the frame, like in editing. I've done a couple of different cropped versions. So I've done like, I think like a 4:3. I've done like pretty standard letterboxing. And I've been playing with other things too. So.
Yeah, really, really quickly for the audience, letterboxing is when you see basically like black bars on the top and the bottom. It's just, it's designed for different camera aspect ratios, but you can also shoot the full frame. And sometimes if you put the letterboxing on, you can still move your video image up and down a bit, and it gives it a bit more of a movie feel. So I think that's a little bit kind of why you do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I try to film the sequences like I would shoot a film. So when I'm editing it, a lot of the time I like it with the crop, just because it looks a little bit more cinematic.
Yes.
But it really depends on the project. A lot of the time I actually base if I'm going to use like any kind of crop on the source that I'm working from. If I'm doing a recreation project.
Right.
So like, for example, if I'm doing like a music video, if they have a crop, I'll also add it on the end for my project. But then for something like the Series of Unfortunate Events project, that movie just had didn't have any letterboxing. So I didn't have it on my final sequence because I wanted to like stay accurate to the film. I know that that's really weird, but
No, I love it. I love the peccadillos, man. That's hilarious. One thing I do find about like letterboxing, it really makes colors pop. Like you get this like nice solid contrast of that dark in there.
yeah, I think there's honestly it changes the look of whatever you shot so much more than you would think. I think because a lot of the times like I'll shoot something and then it looks different to me when I'm editing it like that.
Well, it changes the feel for me also because I automatically get a cinematic feel from anything that's letterboxed. I love it, actually.
Yeah, I really like messing with different frames. Like I also have done some stuff like on my Victorian letter video. At the beginning, I had like a sort of 4:3 square.
Right.
And that's a really different thing for your footage too. It like changes it so much.
Yeah, and 4:3 for people listening out there is basically the aspect ratio or the size of an old style television set, which is more of a square. Picture a television set in your head, and it's a lot shorter in the horizontal on the sides than a movie screen is. So a lot of times if you see certain movies on television, they are either squeezed a little bit or they use this technique called pan and scan, which is a digital technique where basically if in a certain shot there's someone on the extreme right or the extreme left of the frame, they may have to do a digital pan over to the other person if they're answering a question or they're the highlight of that scene. But anyway, so it's basically what she's talking about is you're getting a television aspect ratio, and usually when it's something a little bit that's happened in the past, you can sell that effect by going with a 4:3.
Yeah, they definitely use it a lot in like scenes that they're trying to make look like kind of vintage or something like that, retro.
Yeah, and I'm on the fence both ways because sometimes it works perfectly, and other times I want to take something that I have in 4:3 and just get it to fit the whole screen, and you know that can be tricky because you're blowing it up and etc.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it really depends on the situation, like I said. Like, and that's the fun part for me is like when you're doing the edit, a lot of the times like so many of these things change, I guess. So like I shot, like for example, for that video, for the Victorian letters video at the beginning, I didn't shoot that thinking that I was going to edit it like that at the beginning. But then like while I was editing it, I was like, that would be really cool. And it worked really well for the footage that I shot for that. So
Nice. And when you're shooting the ending sequence, your glamour shots, are you using like a tripod or a slider or anything fancy like that?
it really depends. I mean, I usually use a tripod at least.
Right. Good start.
I don't have a slider. I don't have the money for that. Honestly, a lot of the footage that I shoot, if it's like moving, I'm just hand holding it and then I stabilize it because I don't have gear to like do it better than that. So,
well, you must be good with the. I'm assuming you're using the warp stabilizer inside of Premiere.
Yeah.
Well, you mustn't be moving too much because I haven't noticed it unless you're just using the transform, position, and scale rotation.
Well, here is the secret.
Tell me.
The secret is that you shoot so much footage and then you put it on all of the footage and you see which turns out the best.
Oh, but it takes forever.
It actually doesn't take that long for mine because like I choose like the short sections.
I see.
Most of the time. Like I already have chosen the tiny sections. Like I don't apply it to everything. That would take forever.
Right. Plus it'll go crazy. If you like turn the camera away at some point and pointed it to the floor, it'll totally freak out the stabilizer.
Yeah, exactly.
Ruin the whole shot. You're like, I went away for supper and I come back to this? Come on. And do you spend like several hours shooting your final builds?
It depends. Some of them are a lot more complicated than others.
Right.
But yeah, it usually takes me at least a few hours. But if it's a really complicated one, I'll probably shoot it like over a few days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Devon, it's been fantastic talking to you. I really do appreciate you taking the time, and I really hope that if anyone's out there and hasn't seen Mechanical Fiend on YouTube, go and check her stuff out. It's really, really good. And yeah, check out her little van that she made. Check out her Lemony Snicket's house, and also check out the pirate letters that we were talking about, because I adore those 3 videos. Is there anything else you want to throw out here, Devon?
Watch T-News channel. It's great. I've been like enjoying all of your stuff. I've been watching all of it. I haven't seen all of your videos yet because I have not had time yet.
Oh God, who has time to watch another creator all their videos?
There's only a couple of people that I've seen all of their videos.
Right.
But all of your stuff with like stop motion, it's bringing me back.
Have you done a bit of that, or?
Yeah, I did stop motion a lot more when I was younger, and obviously it wasn't good. But
was this the stuffed animals that you were talking about?
Yes, actually, I did.
Nice.
Like one of the first things that I started doing stop motion with was with the stuffed animals. And I would make like stop motion music videos.
Gotcha. I mean, I was Star Wars figures, and I was doing
I've done Legos too, which is common.
Gotcha.
I know.
Craftsman's really into doing the Legos.
Oh yes, I know. I love his stuff too.
Oh man, he's great at it. Well, Devon, are you gonna do some more stop motion hopefully in the future?
I mean, I'd like to, but I don't know if I'm going to end up ever having time to do it, because it's like so time consuming.
It really is. It really
Yeah.
is. I know I have some shorts that I've written and want to do this year, and I'm still just trying to work out right now some of the technical issues with the way that I want to do the stop motion. But hopefully I'll have some of that out this year, and have more stop motion oriented videos to put out there.
I've loved your stop motion videos. I think they're great. I've loved all of your videos, but those ones definitely, like when you're showing like the behind the scenes of the filmmaking process and stuff, obviously I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So
It's always fun. I mean, I've gotten to the point with movies where sometimes, sadly, I like the behind the scenes stuff more than I like the actual movie.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're struggling with movies, I find, these days.
Well, I feel like they're just making the same movie over and over again.
Yes.
A little bit, at least.
Yes, and every once in a while a real gem comes along. But
Yeah.
but look, Devon, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you today, and thank you so much for coming on the CraftPod 13.
No, thank you for asking me. Like, I appreciate it so much. I love talking to other creators so much. It's great to hear from somebody else.
All right, Fiend. We'll talk soon.
Craft Pod 13.